Hey guys, this is Mr. Sal. We're going to look at some applications of inequalities. So, inequalities in word problems. We already have a couple of examples up on the channel, but this will add some more examples to our bank. So this first problem, Victoria needs to rent a car while on vacation. The rental company charges $25.65 plus 23 cents for each mile driven. If Victoria only has $62 to spend on the car rental, what is the maximum number of miles she can drive? And we will round our answer to the nearest mile. So there's a couple things we need to compare on this. Now, the first thing that we're going to look at is how much money she has to spend. And we'll be comparing that with the amount the company charges. Now, since this is an inequality, we need to look at both. And we need to think about which one would be bigger, which one should be smaller. Now, she only has a limited number of dollars that she can spend, right? So, that is a maximum amount that we can be charged, which means however much she gets charged needs to be less than the amount spent. But she could spend all of it as well. So we can throw an equal sign part of that inequality with the less than portion. Now, if we can write expressions for both, we'll be in good shape as well. So if we look at how much she gets charged, it's going to start with that $25.65. And that's just kind of a general fee, right? But then in addition to that, she's going to get charged 23 cents. Now be very careful because it is common for people to just kind of forget about the decimal because it's 23 cents. And in dollars, we need to show that that's 0.23 right there. Now that's kind of changing value because it's based on the number of miles. So if I set up here, and we'll say x equals the number of miles driven. Then the amount we're going to get charged for the miles would be 23 cents multiplied by the number of miles driven, which we're demonstrating as x. So just to kind of define these two, right, the 25.65 is some kind of fee, and the 23 cents is based on the mileage, and that's how much she would be charged for the mileage. Now this is going to be less than or equal the amount of money that she has to spend, which shows as $62. So this gives us an inequality now that we can solve, and once we do solve it, we'll know how many miles maximum that Victoria can drive. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 25.65 from both sides of the inequality. And what does this give us? Looks like that'd be 36.35. So let's look at this in context before we continue. By taking off the fee from both sides, and that's how much he's going to be paying just from the $62, right? So when we get this value, is 0.23x. Again, that's how much she can spend on mileage. And since we've taken away the fee, that means she has $36.35 to spend on mileage. So the last thing we'd want to do to solve this equation would be to divide both sides by the 23 cents. So that leaves us with x, and that would be less than or equal because we didn't divide by negative on both sides. So it's going to remain less than or equal to. So my calculator gives me 158.043, and again that would be in miles, right? Because x is the number of miles driven. And from this, now we can round, right? Here's what we know is if she goes over 158, the company's likely to round up anyways. So the moment she drives just past 158 miles, they're going to charge her 159. And that would mean she doesn't have enough money for 159 miles. So as long as the number of miles she drives is less than, but we can see that she does have enough for exactly 158 miles, then she will be able to afford this car rental. So we can put this in words as well. Victoria can drive a maximum of 158 miles without the cost of the rental going over $62. Here's our second example for this video, and then we'll be done. Maggie is trying to qualify for the local bowling championship. To qualify, a person must bowl 5 games and have a combined average score of at least 175. In the first 4 games, Maggie's scores were 171, 179, 160, and 186. The question is, what is the minimum score that Maggie must bowl in her 5th game to qualify for the local bowling championship? So again, just like the last example, we're really comparing 2 things right here. And the first one we're going to look at are her actual scores, but their average. And the other thing we're comparing right here is the kind of like the average that she wants to have. So it's kind of like the goal that she wants. Now her actual average needs to be bigger than the average goal that she's getting, but it could be equal as well. So we want this eating her actual scores, but it could also be equal to on this one also. So what are her actual average scores on this one? Well, so far she's bowled these 4 games of 171, 179, 160, and 186. Now this is an average that we're taking, so we're going to add all these together. But there's a score that's missing in this one, right? That's just the first 4 scores, but she's bowling 5 games. So that's the one that we don't know, and we're going to add it in for the average. The last thing we would do for the average is to divide this by 5. Now this needs to be greater than or equal to, the average score must be at least the 175. So that's the goal that she wants, is an average goal of a score of 175. So this has now become a inequality that we can solve. And the first thing I would be doing on this one is to combine all of the 4 scores of the games that she's already bowled. So this is what I get from the addition. 696 plus x, all divided by 5, is greater than 175. Next thing I'm going to want to do is, it's kind of like making common denominators, but I'm really just getting rid of the 5 denominator by using the multiplicative property of equality and multiplying both sides by 5. So that cancels the denominator there with that 5 I multiplied. So I have this new equality now after multiplying 175 and 5 to get that 875. Now again, let's just consider this in context. That 875 means that would be the sum of the 5 scores, the minimum sum of the 5 scores from bowling all 5 games. And right now, Maggie's only bowled to 696, so she's a little ways off, but it looks like we can solve this one still. So after subtracting 696 from both sides of this inequality, it looks like we have a score of 179. So Maggie's score can equal 179, but it has to be more than that as well. So let me rephrase that. The minimum score she can get is 179 or more in order to qualify for this local bowling championship. Alright, that does it for this video. If you guys liked it, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and make a comment below. Thanks for watching.